shits. You alright? Ben? Ben? Can I come in? What's wrong? Can't sleep? Too excited for tomorrow? Scared? Alright. May I sit? I'm sorry she isn't here. But, we'll visit your aunt's tomorrow, and she's a much better cook than I am. And your cousins will be there, and I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it? It's not your fault, Just in case you were worrying. This is a problem between us. Really? I promise. Look, you're a good boy, and I know I've been away, and... A story? By God, it's been a while since you asked me for one of those. What kind of story? A scary story. A scary story at Christmas. I suppose it can be. All right. I do know one scary Christmas story, but you have to promise me you won't be up all night afterwards. Promise? Okay. Anyway, a few years back, well, I suppose it's more than a few at this stage, maybe 20? Ah, Jesus, how is it 20? Fuck me. Forget that. All right. Anyway, a while back when I was maybe, 16, 17, I was visiting a friend on Christmas Eve. You never met them. They moved away after, well, we'll get to that. Anyway, I was over there, me and Declan. Declan was my friend, and we were having a few cans. His mother giving us the demon look if we got anywhere near the whiskey. His father slipping us glasses of Hennessy. It was nice. It was a nice break from all of it, They were a sweet family, and they even invited me for dinner the following day, and would I like to stay the night? They knew. They were a good family, and they knew what I lived in and did their best to help me because no one else would. If you ever find people like that, Ben, treasure them. Hold on to them and give them everything they gave you in return. Never be in their debt. Do you understand me? All right. So, anyway, we were there, me and Declan, of course, and the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. There must have been close to 40 people there. But by 9 or so, people were leaving in their dribs and drabs until it was just me and the family. Declan, obviously. And then there was Finton, his older brother, who he was all right, actually, but as long as he didn't get too university political on you. And then there was Deirdre, his younger sister, negotiating her way through puberty one limited time. So I was saying my goodbyes to everyone because I knew better than to be away on Christmas, and the pain and the suffering it had caused my mother in the 5 minutes she was sober. But anyway, I was saying goodbye to Declan, but he wasn't listening to me. He was staring at his phone and his face was as white as a sheet. "Ma'am, Dad, it's Connor." And he'd done it. He'd said the name of the person who'd been looming over everyone's shoulders all night. Connor had been the oldest. He was maybe, 8 years older than me, so he would have been 24, 25. He died the year prior on Christmas Eve. The family had had their own private ceremony that morning, some kind of 1 year's remembrance or something like that. But Declan had told me that they wanted to have this part of the day the way it should be, so I never mentioned it. But it was there. It was there in the laughter that was just a bit too loud, and the drinks that refilled a bit too quickly and the smoke breaks that came too often. But, they were doing well, all things considered. I mean, on his anniversary and Christmas, no less. But Declan had shattered all of that with just 2 syllables. And for a minute, all you could hear was the crackle of the fire. No one looked at anyone. No one looked at anything. Everyone's eyes were just frozen for a second, like stuffed dogs looking at something far away. Declan's mother Maura was the first to return, reminding him, that they decided to have a nice evening as much as they could, but Declan wasn't having any of it. "Look at your phones, just look at your phones!" And my God, he was shaking. He was almost convulsing. Declan, I know it's hard, son, but we have to let ourselves have a little bit. And then Deirdre shrieked and nearly stopped my heart dead. "He's online! Look, Dad, look! He's online!" "Who?" "Connor." And Fintan just looked punch drunk. "Huh? This isn't funny. What are you talking about?" But then he saw it too. "Pat, what is it?" "They're right. It says he's online, look." But Maura didn't bother. She said it was a prank and we should all just ignore it. I suppose it must be. How did he notice this at all anyway? He'd sent a message in the family group chat. Look. And the 5 of them all looked at their phones. Now, I wasn't being nosy, but I was there, wasn't I? So I had a look. Do you know what the message said? "I'm coming home." That's what it said. It was cruel. That someone could somehow get into his old account or had gotten hold of his own phone, to do it on his anniversary. It was cruelty of the highest order, and the realization of that hit them all, what it meant for a person to do that, and their pain turned into anger, and the children were just typing away, all swearing and insulting this person, but no matter what they said, all they replied with was, "I'm coming home," which only made them more angry until the vibrations and the notification ding-ding-dings were giving me a headache from all 5 phones. At the same time, Maura and Pat were discussing calling Mossy O'Reilly, the Garda down the road who was on call for Christmas, when he might be able to contact someone or get a hold of the account or trace it or something. But in the end, no one did anything. The parents decided that not to disturb poor old Mossy, and didn't he have enough trouble as it was, him and his poor mother, and the children exhausted their rage as they weren't getting anything back from this guy, so gradually the noises from the phones just petered out until all was quiet again but for the crackling of the fire. The 5 of them, plus me, just sat in the living room, a glass in hand, everyone lost in thought. It would seem my moment to leave had finally come. Ding! Another message. However, No one had given him anything to reply to in at least 10 minutes. Maura said to ignore it, that they deserved a bit of peace at Christmas, but of course, Deirdre couldn't help herself. She'd always been close with Connor. He'd changed her nappies, he'd put her to bed, he'd taken her out. He was half a father to her. So, without warning, this noise started, this static hiss. But underneath it, you could just about hear something. A song. And I knew the song. Otis Redding, My Girl. Do you know it? It's a wonderful song. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Oh, I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way? It's my girl. Talking about my girl. Don't make that face. Oh, maybe better left for other people to sing, huh? But, I still used to sing it for your mother. Oh, she didn't mind it so much at the time. The problem was that Connor used to sing that for Deirdre when she was a little girl. No one outside the family knew. This was no prank. There was something wrong going on, and Deirdre didn't take it well. She just stood there, the phone in her hand, all 5 foot of her, just this silent scream on her face. Frozen. Oh, we all were. Until Maura grabbed the phone out of her hand and turned off the recording, and she just collapsed like an accordion into her mother's arms. And, Jesus, Pat, help me with her. Oh, come on now, Pet, come on. And they got her onto the couch and a hot whiskey into her hand against Pat's judgment. And she took a sip, just looking like one of those rescue dogs, just shell-shocked. Just, please don't hurt me. I'll do whatever you say. Just please don't hurt me. And, well, Maura was certainly generous with her drink sizes, especially since Connor had passed, and so just one sip was enough to send her coughing and spluttering. But, it brought a bit of colour to her cheeks. It's him. It has to be. Oh, but it can't be, Pet. God, but I wish it was, but it just can't be. Did you ever tell anyone? What? Pat? No, never. Either of you? And Declan and Fintan shook their heads. Then what in the name of fuck is going on? And she took another sip, forgetting what was in it, and started coughing and spluttering all over again. Oh, Jesus, ma'am. What the fuck is in this? It's half whiskey. And how would you know that, And you only 14 years old? Maura. I think she's right. But she can't be right. Pat, how can she be right? Was it for fun? We went to the church this morning. I'm sorry, love. We all wish he was still here. But somehow someone found out about this and ding. Don't look at that. I won't let some little fucker torment us on my son's anniversary. Turn them off. Put them away. All of you. But Declan was already watching it. Watching the video that Connor sent us. I wish I hadn't looked. I hadn't known Connor that well. Most of my memories were just of the older brother who cleared the part of the video game that we were stuck on, or the fella that hit a football harder than God himself. But whatever I knew about him, I had never seen the side of him that made him throw himself into a river. And that's what we saw. Through his eyes, just as he saw it. It didn't look real. Standing by bridge looking over the Corrib River. I look up to the night sky so full of stars it looked like it came from another planet. And the water, dark and beautiful, but sparkling and clean. Like a toss of thick blankets waiting just to wrap you up and take you away. We saw a hand take the railing. And then another. And then he fell. The next part was difficult. You know, it should have been hard to make out. It should have been just a mess of churning dark water, but it wasn't. We felt it all the way through. All the way to the end. And this broke Maura. She'd always been like a gorilla shoved into a pixie's body, but this was too much. And she burst into tears, bawling, and Pat holding her. The watch, Maura, the watch, the watch. We bought him on his 18th birthday. Jesus Christ, it's him. It has to be him. It has to be. It's not him. It's not him. It's not him. Ding. I wasn't even trying to hide that I was looking anymore, and Declan didn't seem to mind. The message was short. Very short. Just a single question mark. Is he asking us to reply? Ought to be, he's dead, Declan. Look, I'm sorry, there's something going on here, but we buried him ourselves. We carried his coffin. Ding. 2 question marks. Ding. 3, ding, 4, ding, 5, then 10, 20, 30, walls and walls of question marks coming in faster than should be humanly possible. Ding, ding, ding. What is it? What does it mean? I'm going to ask. Don't. I think if he's asking us something, after showing us that, then it's probably related. Related. Related how? And Pat didn't get it. And neither, it seemed, did Maura. But Declan, Fintan, and Deirdre all did. And so did I, for that matter. What do you think he was asking, Ben? From what Declan told me, somewhere around Connor's 3rd year of university, he just fell off the map. You know, even when Deirdre had gotten very sick or his grandfather had passed away, you know, no one knew why. I mean, he was studying to be a doctor, but was he really that busy? Too busy to come home? Too busy to meet his mother when she drove 5 hours to meet him? It didn't make sense. But then they pulled him from the river and they saw this obese body attached to their sports star son's head. And then they cleaned out his apartment and they saw the squalor he'd been living in. And then they called the university to withdraw him from his course and they found out he'd pulled out years ago. And then they called the night portering job he'd been doing instead and were told he was fired and good luck to him. Maura and Pat were good people, but they were drivers. And when they went on about, you know, their son studying to be a doctor and captaining the rugby team and look at his girlfriend, isn't she gorgeous? You know, you had to wonder, who are you talking about? Especially if you ever met Connor, you know, a boy who only ever wanted to be a primary school teacher. He couldn't keep up with it anymore. So he couldn't come home. Anyway. Look, knowing this, and while I didn't know all of this at the time, I knew enough. It only left one question that Connor could have been asking after showing us that video. Why? Why did this have to happen to me? And if he's asking the question, then the family had to be the ones with the answer. And if they were the ones with the answer, perhaps it's because of something they did. And if it's because of something they did, maybe it's their fault. And maybe Connor wasn't so happy about it. I'm home? What does that mean? And in spite of ourselves, we all took a quick look around to make sure there were still only 6 people in the room. There were. Bang, bang, bang. But outside, bang, 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 there was someone. Bang, bang, bang. And he wanted us to open the door. I think we all knew in that moment not to open the door. Now, whether we knew why was a whole other matter. Those little shits at a time like this. But Maura didn't chase them off like she usually would have. Bang, bang, bang. This time, the back door. Bang, bang, bang. The front door. Bang, bang, bang. I'm home. Bang, bang, bang. I'm home. Bang, bang, bang. I'm home. I'm home. On, and we all just stood there like scared rabbits for God knows how long, the banging getting louder and louder, and eventually Deirdre suggested just opening the door, but Fintan was against it, saying that if it really was Connor, it mightn't be safe. And he was giving Maura and Pat this look. They didn't miss it. And what's that supposed to mean, huh? Are you trying to say he'd hurt us? Huh? Why would you do that? Why would he come back for revenge? Sure, all we ever did was love him. You pushed him too far. He never wanted to be a doctor or play rugby or any of it. He did it for you. How do you think he felt when he couldn't carry on anymore? A failure. After everything he'd done, he felt like a failure. So, do you know what? I think maybe he would feel a bit bitter. Maybe he would come back for revenge. And maybe you would deserve it for killing my big brother. And lads, well, if it didn't all kick off then, the shouting and the screaming and all the wounds ripped open, all the years of resentment and rage just breaking free. And there's no war as ugly as the Civil War, Ben, I'll tell you that much. And then Deirdre screamed and nearly ruptured my fucking eardrums. Hey, listen, it stopped. She was right. In all of the noise, none of us had noticed. The banging had stopped completely. Ding. A voice message. Several voice messages. And at first they seemed like nothing, just a few seconds of static and maybe the faintest something underneath. Until the third one played. And I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. Oh, Jesus Christ. And the family all turned on me, but I was too frightened to feel awkward. Turn it up. As loud as you can, just turn it up. And we listened again. It was us. He had recorded us. He was home. He really was home, and there was only one place near enough to record out of sight and still dull the volume that much. And so, as one, we all turned to the living room window. Dun, dun, dun. A tiny, polite knock. Dun, dun, dun. The problem was that everything under the window was covered with gravel. And we hadn't heard a sound, not a crunch. Just behind that curtain stood something. And there was the tiniest gap between the curtain and the wall. And if you just peeked, what would you see? Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. dun, 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 dun. Crash! And my God, but we all screamed, jumping away from the fireplace where the manger with the baby Jesus and the three wise men and all of them had just crashed to the floor, smashed to bits. Pat! I didn't touch it. Oh, look at the state of it. Didn't Connor send this to us last Christmas? That did not seem like a coincidence to me. A freezing draft blew in. A door was open, which wasn't possible, as Maura had locked every door when the last guest had left. And then we felt it. A malice, an unkindness, a rage pulsating down the hallway, and we drew back from the open doorway, almost falling on top of the Christmas tree, all of us crunching over the shattered remains of the manger on the floor. And we could feel them, just on the edge of the door, like a cracked oven door. And Pat held Maura, and Fintan pulled Declan behind him, and Declan held Deirdre. Yeah, I just stood away by myself. I didn't take it personally. Sorry. I don't know. I was just remembering how it finished. Anyway, look, we were all standing there scared out of our wits, but in that moment, as the family held each other, something slowed. It didn't stop, it just slowed. A respite. And then Deirdre jumped forward, grabbing something from the debris of the manger hidden underneath the mossy frame. A folded piece of paper. A letter. A year-old letter. Dear everyone, I'm so sorry I won't make it home for Christmas this year. Truth be told, I'd love to be there, but right now, this version of me is not the version I'd like all of you to see. It's okay though. I'm okay. So please don't be worried about me. I have a lot of goals I'd like to accomplish before we meet each other again, but it won't be for anyone other than me that I'll be doing them. You know, there was a boy named Connor years ago who laughed so loud and worked so hard and had so much fun. I'd like to find him again. For you and for me. Enclosed inside the shitty manger that I know Dad will just hate are tickets to the zoo. Time and circumstance may have split us apart, but looking at a bunch of animals and feeling a bit clever is a great way of spending time with people you love, isn't it? I also couldn't afford flights to anywhere for 6 people, and I know that Paris probably would have healed us faster, but I'm a medical student, not a doctor. I'm still learning how to take care of others as well as myself. I love you all. Happy Christmas. Connor. And they cried. All of them. They held each other and wept and checked the expiry dates and the tickets, and what would you know? They were still valid. It was winter and half the animals wouldn't be there, but they'd go. It wasn't about the fucking animals, was it? And before we knew it, it was gone. He was gone. Because I truly believe Connor came home that night. Now, where he went, I don't know. He left his family hugging and crying, but they'd be okay. They are okay. They moved a few months later. Pat's business took off in some way. I don't know the details, but did they need to move so soon? I don't know. Maybe not. But they left all the same, and good luck to them. I actually saw Declan a few years ago. Pink shirt, but good looking wife. He's doing all right for himself. What do you mean? There was a ghost, wasn't there? Oh, I see. No, you're misunderstanding something. I said he left the house. I never said where he went. You know, people say Connor still wanders the streets on Christmas Eve, ensuring harmony between families. And for those who do not show forgiveness or neglect their loved ones at this special time, he will warn you, just once with a single knock on your door. Refuse, and you may find yourself with a big brother you never wanted, giving you a punishment you may very well deserve. And look at that. Merry Christmas, Ben. Anyway, I better get going to bed. Good night. I'll see you in the morning, okay? What's wrong? Would you like me to stay in here tonight? All right. Just let me wash up first, okay? Oh.